Spotify and the echo chamber. Today, I'm going to be giving you a deep dive into how Spotify keeps you listening and how that affects your experience as a listener. I'm not going to be talking about artists because I wanted to focus on user experience most. So, some basic stats. Spotify is the world's biggest music streaming app. Maybe that's not a surprise to anyone, but if you look on the right with market share, they have a colossal market share 32% of the entire market of music streaming, followed quite abysmally behind by Apple Music. Then in third with Amazon, fourth Tencent, fifth YouTube Music, and sixth other, so including like Pandora, etc. Spotify has over 70 million songs in its database and over 3 billion playlists. Absolutely extortionate amount. That's probably based off of users and curated playlists and algorithmically built playlists. And then at the bottom there, Spotify users. So you can see that there's been quite an acceleration in usership over the last few years, specifically in 2020 with all the lockdowns. And in 2020, there being 345 million total users and 155 million paid users. So, Spotify priorities. What makes them tick? Well, of course, when they were started in 2006, it was a response to piracy and giving people a free method of listening legally to music. But Spotify are ultimately a business and they want to increase revenue. So, where do they get all that from? Well, the chart below shows that they get most of their money from subscriptions and then a small portion from ads. Maybe no surprises to anybody, but 7 billion euros in last year from subscriptions. So it's quite clear that they must care about their subscribers a lot and getting more and keeping the ones they have. So a quote here from Charlie Hellman, Spotify's vice president of product. He says, the longer people stay on the platform, the more likely they are to pay for premium. So they want you to stay on Spotify. Again, maybe no surprises there. So, how does Spotify keep you listening? Well, it's part of a very steep learning curve where they learn about you and your listening habits and what you like to hear. Historically, Spotify struggled with that sort of thing, so acquired a company called the Echo Nest in 2014 to improve their knowledge of music and to improve their knowledge of users. So, there's an interesting quote below by one of the founders of Echo Nest. He says, when Tristan and I started the company in 2005, we were two guys with fresh PhDs on music analysis and some pretty good technological solutions. Tristan's in the music analysis realm, and mine in the data mining and language analysis space. So, two focuses here from the Echo Nest, analyzing the raw audio and analyzing the internet for anything someone says about music. Now, it's very useful noting that Facebook and Spotify have some worrying links. The white image at the bottom there, Facebook data, I found under my privacy policy. When you opt out of Spotify processing your Facebook data, we will stop processing any Facebook data shared with Spotify except the personal data that enables you to sign in. Well, everyone has automatically opted into this service, which means that Spotify has access to your Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp account to know exactly what you're doing and what your interests are in everything else. On top of just the acoustic analysis and the text data from internet sourcing, is of course Spotify's user data. So here I've got a list of examples of things that they can learn about the music and about you. So, with the acoustic analysis, they can learn the style, the structure, the instrumentation, the lyrical content, the BPM, and other things like the danceability, or whether it's appropriate for running on a track just by listening to it. With user data, they get a lot more possibly than you'd expect. Every single skip, especially if you skip before 30 seconds, because the song doesn't get monetized unless you listen to it for more than 30 seconds, and it counts as a dislike. Your playlist, the order of your playlist, what songs next to what other song, your listening habits, whether you listen in the morning or the evening, your listening content, who you listen to, followed artists, friends listening content, who they listen to, and much, much more. I've actually put out an appeal for my data from Spotify, but it takes a while to arrive, so I haven't got that yet. And finally, internet sourcing, so text data, and that will study news articles, reviews, Wikipedia articles, Facebook posts, blog posts, tweets, YouTube video comments, and all other manner of text data off the internet. There's an interesting quote again up there from the same guy as the previous slide. Every word anyone utters on the internet about music goes through our systems. So there's no bounds to Spotify's knowledge about music. And all of this goes into Bart, which is Spotify's recommending algorithm. It stands for Bandits for Recommendations as Treatments, and it focuses on two key things: exploitation, I just can't get over that, and exploration. Now, exploitation, as the quote says below, it says exploitation recommends content with the highest predicted user engagement and has traditionally been the focus of recommender systems. So that's stuff that Spotify knows you like. It's in your liked songs. It's something you listen to regularly. And then exploration. Exploration recommends content with uncertain predicted user engagement for the purpose of gathering more information. So, exploitation, what Spotify knows about you, and then exploration, what it thinks it knows about you, so that it can learn more about you. And they combine both of these things to create what it thinks is the best user experience. Down in the middle, I have a little image of just me flicking through my daily mix. 4 was just an example, and you can see a lot of the songs in there are songs in my liked songs, because Spotify believes that if it shows me things it knows I like along with things it thinks I'll like, that it's a good balance to keep me listening. On top of all of this, it's ways that it can justify and provide you with new content that is with reasons. So, adding an associated explanation for a recommendation is known to increase user satisfaction and the persuasiveness of recommendations. So, these recommendations are always made with respect to what it knows about you. I mean, no surprises there. More like David Bowie, more of what you like. Hear a little bit of everything you love. Recommended radio, non-stop music based on your favorite songs and artists. It's very appealing actually to a listener, but also it keeps you on the app. So all of this is leading towards a very powerful feedback loop. So the better the recommendations, the more time you spend on the app, which means more of your data collected, which means better recommendations. I use inverted commas because there's quite a lot of arguments around the recommendation system. And this cycle, as it goes around, every single time it makes you more likely to subscribe if you haven't already, and less likely to unsubscribe, which of course gets Spotify more money. And now it begs the question around the echo chamber. So if Spotify only plays what it knows you like and what it thinks you will like, then its tendency is not actually towards discovery, but towards continued listening. A 2017 study titled More of the Same concluded that it seems that music recommendation algorithms do not take advantage of the archival infinity at Spotify. And it goes on to say that it's possible to empirically sustain claims of repetitiveness within Spotify radio, and indeed prove that at least artist iterance is quite striking. An image in the top right there is an example of a loop based off of ABBA's Dancing Queen, and then going on Spotify Radio, and it goes in a big loop to end up at right back where it started, going through lots of similar artists, but also lots of repeated artists, and not really taking you somewhere that new. And so now we move on to our conclusions. With over 70 million songs, there are more opportunities than ever to hear new music. But Spotify's Bart will prioritize your current listening habits, exposing you to a comparatively small amount of new music. This isn't to say it isn't enjoyable for the listener, it's just raising arguments about whether you really are listening to more music. Um, However, the overall impact on individual users can be minimized by deliberately balancing your use of Spotify algorithms with organic searches and recommendations, like from friends or family, etc. Thank you very much for listening, and any questions I would be very happy to answer.